Remember when TV thought we wouldn't notice if our favorite characters suddenly had a whole new face? No storyline, no explanation, just here's your mom, your sister, or your superhero, only different. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it flopped harder than Cop Rock, and sometimes it changed TV history forever. You all loved part 1 so much that we're back with part 2, counting down 10 more beloved characters who got swapped out midstream, from sitcom moms and soap divas to superheroes in spandex. And if you missed part 1, don't worry, the link's in the description below. And be sure to stick around for number 1. The watch party for her reveal had over 80 million of us on the edge of our seats. Now, before we get started, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps YouTube show this video to more retro TV fans just like you. Now, let's get into the countdown with number 10, Templeton face Peck, the A-Team, NBC. From 1983 to 1987 on NBC, we had the A-Team. 4 Vietnam vets on the run, blowing stuff up, building tanks out of scrap metal, and rolling around in the most iconic black and red van of the 1980s. But here's the thing. Before Dirk Benedict flashed that signature smile as Templeton faced Peck, the role belonged to someone else just for 1 episode. Actor Tim Dunnigan played face in the pilot, but NBC execs hit pause when they saw the footage.
Yeah? Well, you're about to get a chance to play it for Colonel Lynch.
Their issue was that Dunnigan looked way too young to have served in Vietnam, and since the show was built around Vietnam vets on the run, that little detail kind of mattered. So after just 1 outing, Dunnigan was out, and stepping up to the plate was Dirk Benedict from Battlestar Galactica.
You're not going out to do whatever it is you're going out to do without me.
Charming as ever and old enough to be believable. He slid into the role like he'd been conning his way through missions since basic training. The switch was never explained on screen because 1 week it was Dunnigan, the next it was Benedict. No mention, no flashback, no clever retcon. Viewers noticed the sudden change, and over time it became a notable example of an unaddressed recast in 80s television. Number 9, Superboy. Superboy. Syndicated. Remember Superboy? Probably not, and that's kind of the point. Syndicated from 1988 to 1992, the show was once a big deal, running 4 full seasons and giving us Clark Kent's college years at Schuster University. It was spandex and term papers mixing superheroics with student life. But thanks to legal tangles, limited reruns, and the shadow of Lois and Clark, Smallville, and the Christopher Reeve films, Superboy has become the forgotten cousin of the Superman family tree. Still loved by its diehard fans, but rarely brought up at reunions. Let's start with the elephant in the room, or should we say the completely different guy in the red cape. John Hames Newton played Superboy for the entire first season, delivering his lines with all the charisma of a community college math teacher reading from a teleprompter.
You are either a quick healer or a bad liar. What are you talking?
Then season 2 rolled around and suddenly Clark Kent looked completely different. There was no explanation, no magical plastic surgery, no multiverse, not even a cheeky wink to the camera. Just boom! New face, same cape, baby. It was like if halfway through a Superman movie, Christopher Reeve walked off set and they just replaced him with the guy who plays Superman at Six Flags.
It's a sniper! Everybody get down!
Behind the scenes, Newton apparently wasn't clicking with producers or audiences. Then came the final straw. He asked for a 20% raise on a show with a bare-bones budget, so no. So the producers pulled a classic TV move. Recast, reboot, and pretend nothing ever happened. And let's be honest, some fans thought Newton's Superboy gave more mildly concerned boy than Superboy. Gerard Christopher brought better energy, superior acting chops, and an actual understanding that he was playing a superhero, not a substitute teacher with flying powers. The difference was so dramatic that fans basically split into 2 camps. Team Newton, the dozen people who liked season 1, and Team Christopher, which was pretty much everybody else. Number 8, Bobby Joe Bradley, Petticoat Junction, CBS. So, CBS had this thing in the 60s where they were absolutely obsessed with rural comedies. You know the drill. Small towns, train whistles, and enough canned laughter to make your ears ring. Petticoat Junction ran from 1963 to 1970 and followed Kate Bradley and her 3 daughters running the Shady Rest Hotel, which Honestly, sounds like the kind of place your car would break down at in a horror movie, but somehow it was charming.
Bye, Billy. Bye, Mom. Bye, Bobby. Bye, Mom. Bye, Junior. Bye, Rhubarb. Roger. Have a good time.
One of those daughters was Bobby Jo, the middle child who started out as the sweet, studious type. You know, the one who actually did her homework while her sisters were probably sneaking out to meet boys by the water tower. For the first 2 seasons, Pat Woodell played her as this bookish, shy girl who seemed like she'd rather be reading than dealing with whatever hijinks were happening around the hotel. But then season 3 rolls around and bam! Completely different Bobby Jo walks into the shady rest like she owns the place. Enter Laurie Saunders with a bubbly personality, total glamour girl vibes, and a hairstyle that looked like it required its own zip code. There was no "hey, I got a makeover" episode, no dramatic reveal, and no wink to the camera, just new actress who dis. This was classic 60s TV magic, folks. Before the internet could roast you for plot holes, shows just swapped actors like they were changing outfits. Oh, you noticed? Weird. Anyway, here's more train jokes.
Bobby Jo. Neophyte.
Neophyte. Neoph. Neophyte.
Correct.
Saunders stuck around through the end of the series, and her bubbly version became the Bobby Jo most people remembered. Meanwhile, Woodell's quieter take turned into one of those "wait, there was another Bobby Jo" trivia nuggets that only surfaced during late-night TV land marathons. And you know what? It totally worked. Because apparently all we needed back then was a train whistle and some overalls to keep us happy. The Cannonball Express just kept on chugging, and we all climbed aboard for the ride. Number 7, Fallon Carrington, Dynasty and the Colbys, ABC. Okay, let's talk about Dynasty, the show that basically asked, what if we made Dallas but with more champagne and shoulder pads that could double as aircraft carriers? This ABC primetime soap opera ran from 1981 to 1989 and gave us everything we didn't know we needed. Oil barons throwing drinks, catfights in couture, and enough backstabbing to make Machiavelli jealous. At the center of all this glamorous chaos was Fallon Carrington, Blake's razor-sharp daughter who was Daddy's little princess with a serious rebellious streak.
You know, Fallon, most little girls realize by the age of 6 that they can't grow up and marry their daddies.
Pamela Sue Martin launched the role in 1981, and honey, she came to play. Martin's Fallon was pure fire, sarcastic, cutting, the kind of woman who'd steal your man just to prove that she could, then get bored and give him back. She had that perfect 80s blend of glamour and venom that made you hate her and want to be her simultaneously. But then 1984 rolled around and Martin decided she'd had enough of soap opera land. The official story was that she wanted a quieter life to maybe work with animals. You know, trade Dynasty drama for actual drama-free living. The unofficial version is that she thought Fallon was getting dumbed down and turned into just another victim. Either way, she was out. Now, here's where it gets peak soap opera ridiculous. Fallon was too important to just write off. They needed her for the spin-off, The Colbys, because apparently one show about rich people being terrible wasn't enough. So, what did they do? They gave her amnesia. I kid you not. The classic soap opera solution. When your face changes, just forget who you are entirely. Enter Emma Samms in 1985, who had to step into Fallon's designer shoes and somehow make us believe she was the same person who'd been terrorizing Denver society for 4 years.
Maybe someday you'll realize I really do want to be a brother to you.
My memory is back, Adam. I can't say I remember you as loving and caring.
Sam's Fallon was different. Softer, more romantic, and less likely to verbally eviscerate you at a charity gala. She was still rich and beautiful, but Martin's razor-sharp edges had been sanded down to something more viewer-friendly. Fans were not having it. Well, some fans weren't having it. Others decided they actually preferred kinder, gentler Fallon. It became one of those soap opera debates that could start family feuds. Were you Team Martin or Team Samms, with the battle lines drawn over who did bitchy heiress better? Sam stuck it out through Dynasty's end in 1989, and honestly, she made the role her own. But Fallon Carrington's face swap remains one of the most famous soap recasts of the decade. Proof that even with amnesia as your excuse, some changes are just too big to ignore. Because when you're dealing with shoulder pads that epic, consistency matters. Number 6. Pam Burkhard, That 70s Show, Fox. That 70s Show, the show that convinced an entire generation that basements were cool and burn was the ultimate comeback, Fox ran this gem from 1998 to 2006, back when we could still pretend the 70s were retro chic instead of just old. It launched careers for Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis, and Topher Grace, plus gave us enough secondhand smoke to last a lifetime. Now, in the Burkhard family tree, we had Jackie, spoiled princess extraordinaire, and her mother Pam, who was basically what happened when you gave a narcissist a credit card and zero parenting skills. Pam was the kind of glamorous disaster who made you think, well, now Jackie makes perfect sense. So, Pam first popped up in season 1, played by none other than Eve Plum, aka Jan Brady herself. And listen, casting Jan Brady as someone's flaky mom, that's some next level meta casting right there, but it was basically a blink and you miss it appearance, because then poof, Pam disappeared faster than Eric's spine whenever Red gave him the look. Fast forward to season 6 and suddenly Pam's back, except now she's Brooke Shields. Yeah, Jackie's mom went from middle Brady to literal supermodel overnight. Talk about a glow up that defied the laws of genetics and common sense. But here's the thing, this wasn't just random stunt casting. This was genius stunt casting.
I just love coming over to your house. You have such unique tastes. It's like being in a giant flea market.
You want to play Jackie's vain, self-obsessed, I'm basically a teenager in my mom's body mother? Well, get an actual supermodel who spent the 80s being gorgeous for a living. Shields didn't just phone it in either. She appeared in 7 episodes and absolutely nailed Pam's shallow, my daughter is basically my competition energy. The switch was about as subtle as a disco ball in a monastery, but somehow it worked perfectly. Plum's version had been more subdued, but Shields went full throttle with the vanity and self-absorption.
Oh, what a lovely evening. If I didn't know any better, I'd swear I was with rich people.
Oh, she's got it all. Looks and beauty.
She made Pam into this fabulous disaster who you simultaneously wanted to laugh at and get therapy recommendations from. Sure, fans noticed. I mean, going from Jan Brady to Calvin Klein's poster girl isn't exactly a stealth move, but in classic sitcom tradition, the show just pretended like nothing happened and kept the laugh track rolling. It wasn't as big a deal as Lori Foreman's recast, which we covered in part 1, but Pam Burkhard is still one of those, hold up, wasn't she completely different before moments that makes That 70s Show reruns even more entertaining. Because apparently in Point Place, Wisconsin, Total Mom makeovers only take a few seasons. Since you're still here, be sure to like and subscribe because we've got even crazier recasts coming up, so let us know in the comments which swamp you remember the most. Number 5, Marilyn Munster, The Munsters, CBS. The Munsters, the show that took a perfectly normal family and made them literal monsters, then somehow convinced us they were the sweetest people on TV. CBS ran this beauty from 1964 to 1966, giving us Frankenstein's monster as the bumbling dad, Grandpa the vampire with a chemistry set, Lily looking like Morticia Adams' cooler sister, and little Eddie running around like a werewolf puppy in short pants. But here's the kicker. In a house full of actual monsters, the only normal one was Marilyn Munster.
I can't quite put my finger on it, but somehow that woman seems strange. Doesn't everybody?
Blonde, wholesome, all-American girl next door who just happened to live with creatures that belonged in a horror movie. The running gag was that the family thought she was the hideous one, while she kept wondering why she couldn't keep a boyfriend. I mean, maybe it was the whole living with monsters thing, but what do I know? Here's where it gets really ironic. In a family where everyone stayed consistently monstrous, Marilyn was the only Munster who couldn't keep the same face. Beverly Owen launched the role and played Marilyn for the first 13 episodes, but apparently living in Hollywood and pretending to be related to vampires wasn't her dream job. She wanted to get married, move to New York, and basically get as far away from 1313 Mockingbird Lane as possible. So, after just 13 episodes of Monster family life, she was out. Enter Pat Priest, who waltzed into the Munster mansion like she'd always lived there. No explanation, no, hey, where's the other Marilyn episode? No magical transformation, just boom, new face, same character, keep the cameras rolling, people.
Oh, by the way, Uncle Lester called and he's very anxious to get in touch with you.
Huh? It's probably about the M-O-N-E-Y.
Priest became the Marilyn most people remember, playing her through the rest of the series run. She nailed that sweet, oblivious normal girl routine while surrounded by gothic chaos. Case closed, right? Wrong. When Munster Go Home hit theaters in 1966, Universal decided to shake things up again. Out went Pat Priest and in came Debbie Watson. Why? Well, pure Hollywood logic, that's why. They wanted to push Watson's career, thought a younger actress fit the script better, and hey, Priest's contract was up anyway. Classic studio thinking. If it ain't broke, fix it until it is. Priest was not having it, and honestly, who could blame her? She made Marilyn her own, fans loved her, and suddenly she's watching someone else play her character in the movie. Adding insult to injury, the movie flopped harder than Eddie trying to act human, and Watson's career never took off. Meanwhile, Pat Priest remains the definitive Marilyn for most fans. So, there you have it. In a family where dad had bolts in his neck and grandpa turned into a bat, the only character who looked remotely normal was the one who kept changing faces. For international audiences discovering the Munsters through the movie, it was less meet the family and more, wait, who the hell is this Marilyn? Turns out even in monster families, Hollywood's gonna Hollywood, baby. Number 4, Paige Thatcher. Life Goes On, ABC. Okay, let's talk about Life Goes On, the show that basically said screw your feel-good sitcoms and gave us actual feelings instead. The ABC drama ran from 1989 to 1993, back when Sunday nights meant something other than scrolling through Netflix for 2 hours. The show was groundbreaking in the best way possible. Chris Burke played Corky, the first actor with Down syndrome to star in a network series, and honestly, it was about time.
A family that'll love her and take really good care of her.
I want her.
I know, but it's not enough just to want her. It's a big job.
I can do it.
Plus, we got baby-faced Kelly Martin as Becca, who somehow made being the responsible middle child look cool. No easy feat in the early 90s. But here's where things got interesting. The Thatchers had this other daughter, Paige, the oldest kid, who was basically every sophisticated college girl you either wanted to be or wanted to avoid at parties.
Miss
Paige.
Like in the book?
Yeah.
You know the type. Perfectly put together on the outside, slightly self-absorbed on the inside, probably owned more sweater sets than the rest of us combined. Now, here's the thing about Paige. She had a serious case of the old switcheroo. Season 1 rolled out with Monique Lanier in the role, doing her thing as the sometimes bratty but lovable oldest daughter. Then, life happened. Lanier got pregnant, decided to peace out after Season 1, and suddenly the Thatchers needed a new eldest child. Enter Tracy Needham in Season 2, who waltzed into the family like she'd been there all along, and get this, Needham wasn't just passing through. She stuck around for the long haul and eventually landed starring roles in Jag and The Division. Talk about a career upgrade from family drama, sister. The show pulled the classic what recast move.
They're not done. Take these. Okay, right. Okay.
No explanation, no Paige got a makeover over summer break episode, no awkward family photo comparisons, just new Paige, same problems, keep watching. And you know what's wild? It actually worked. Needham's Paige got the meaty storylines, the dramatic moments, all the good stuff that comes with sticking around when a show hits its stride. Meanwhile, Lanier's version became one of those, wait, wasn't she someone else in Season 1 memories that only surfaced during late night reruns? For those of us who lived through the Thatcher family drama, Paige's face swap is one of those quiet TV mysteries that still makes you go, huh, yeah, they did totally switch her around. Not every recast makes history, but sometimes the subtle ones stick with you just as much. Number 3, Chuck Cunningham, Happy Days, ABC. Happy Days. The show that convinced America the 50s were basically one long sock hop with better hair products. ABC ran this nostalgia machine from 1974 to 1984, giving us jukeboxes, leather jackets, and the revolutionary discovery that you could fix literally anything by snapping your fingers and saying, "Ay." And it also made stars out of Ron Howard and Henry Winkler. But here's something that might blow your mind. Richie and Joni Cunningham actually had an older brother in those early years. His name was Chuck, and he existed. He was tall, played basketball, and occasionally wandered through the kitchen looking vaguely sibling-ish.
Enough of me, thanks. I gotta go.
Why is it that this family just can't sit together for 5 minutes after dinner and talk?
Think generic older brother dialed down to barely noticeable. And Chuck couldn't even manage to keep the same face while being forgettable. We're talking about a character so bland, he got recast more times than he actually had storylines. First up was Rick Carrot in the Love American-style backdoor pilot back in 1972. You know, back when Happy Days was just a twinkle in Gary Marshall's eye. Then, when the actual series launched, Gavin O'Herlihy stepped in to bounce basketballs and deliver the occasional, "Hey Dad," with all the charisma of wet cardboard. O'Herlihy lasted exactly one season before he basically said, "I'm out," and honestly, can you blame the guy? He later admitted he didn't want to spend his career playing a character who would grunt and bounce a basketball once every couple of weeks, which, fair point, Gavin, fair point. So, for season 2, they brought in Randolph Roberts to give Chuck one more shot at relevance. Roberts managed to appear in a whopping 2 episodes before vanishing faster than a teenager's allowance at Arnold's Drive-In. By this point, the writing was literally on the wall, or more accurately, it wasn't on the wall at all, because nobody was writing for Chuck anymore.
Now, cut party share the rent each month. What do you say? Okay?
Yeah, I guess that'd be okay.
Great.
Well, where do I sleep?
Meanwhile, Fonzie was busy stealing every scene, the ratings were going through the roof, and suddenly having a boring older Cunningham brother felt completely unnecessary. So what did the writers do? Well, they pulled off one of the most legendary disappearing acts in TV history. Chuck went upstairs to his room one day and never came back down. No goodbye scene, no Chuck's off to college explanation, no tragic basketball accident. He just evaporated into sitcom history, leaving Richie and Joni as son-only children who apparently had no memory of ever having a brother. It was so perfectly ridiculous that it gave us the phrase Chuck Cunningham syndrome, the official term for TV characters who vanish without a trace, like they were never there at all. We actually covered this legendary syndrome in a previous video, links in the description. 1 backdoor pilot, 3 different faces, 2 seasons of basketball bouncing, and 1 final trip upstairs that lasted forever. That's the Chuck Cunningham legacy. Proof that in the world of Happy Days, sometimes characters don't just jump the shark, they disappear entirely. Number 2, Catwoman, Batman, ABC. Now let's talk about the Batman that existed before Christian Bale started growling at people in underground parking garages. Back in the 60s, Batman was pure camp, colorful, ridiculous, and absolutely shameless about it. ABC ran this day-glow fever dream from 1966 to 1968, complete with biff, bam, pow sound effects and a tone that perfectly matched the comics of that era.
Oh, yes.
Adam West strutted around in that gray suit like he was hosting the world's most dangerous game show, and the show gave us a rogues gallery that became instant pop culture legends. The Joker, the Riddler, the Penguin, and of course the queen of Gotham's criminal underworld herself, Catwoman. Now, here's where things get interesting. Catwoman may have had 9 lives, but she definitely had 3 different faces. Julie Newmar launched the role in seasons 1 and 2, and holy cow did she nail it. All sultry purrs and arched eyebrows with this perfect balance of dangerous and playful that made you understand why Batman kept arresting her. She was like if Jessica Rabbit decided to become a cat burglar, which, let's be honest, was exactly what 60s TV needed.
Never you mind my terrible trio of tabbies, fear not. I have everything under control. Batman and Robin will be their final performance.
But when the 1966 Batman movie came around, Newmar was busy with other projects. Enter Lee Merriweather, who slipped into that iconic catsuit for the big screen. Merriweather brought a more refined, sophisticated vibe to the role. Less playful kitten, more elegant house cat who could still scratch your eyes out.
You abominable outlaws. What have you done with Miss Kit Kat?
She's quite well, Mr. Wayne.
Then season 3 rolled around and Newmar was still unavailable, and the producers made a casting choice that was nothing short of revolutionary. They brought in Eartha Kitt. And let me tell you, Kit didn't just play Catwoman, she became Catwoman. Fierce, magnetic, with this incredible mix of elegance and danger that redefined the character entirely.
How can Batgirl be the best anything when Catwoman is around?
No best-dressed list is complete without the addition of the queen of criminals, the princess of plunder, yours untruly.
Kit's casting was huge. She became the first black actress to play Catwoman in live action, and one of the first black women to land a major comic book role on television. This was 1967, remember, when that kind of representation was practically unheard of. Her Catwoman had bite, sophistication, and a confidence that influenced every version of the character that came after. The show never bothered explaining why Catwoman kept changing faces, but each actress brought something completely different to the role. Newmar's playful seduction, Merryweather's cool sophistication, and Kit's groundbreaking fierceness. Together, they didn't just give Catwoman 9 lives, they gave her a legacy that's still purring along today. Not bad for a character who managed to have 3 different faces across just 3 seasons and a movie. Number 1, Kristen Shepard, Dallas, CBS. Dallas. The show that proved you could build an entire empire on oil wells, family feuds, and the occasional poolside murder. CBS ran this Texas-sized soap opera from 1978 to 1991, serving up more backstabbing than a Renaissance court and enough family drama to make your own relatives look functional by comparison. And then came the cliffhanger that stopped America in its tracks. Who shot JR? It was the kind of moment that had people gathering around water coolers, placing bets, and probably calling in sick to work just to theorize about it. The answer, as we all found out, was Kristen Shepard, Sue Ellen's sister, JR's mistress, and the woman who proved that keeping it in the family could literally be explosive. But here's the thing about Kristen. She managed to become TV's most infamous shooter despite not even keeping the same face. Kristen first showed up in Season 2, played by Colleen Camp, in what was basically a throwaway storyline. Bobby had just separated from Pam, and JR, being JR, saw an opportunity to play Puppet Master. His brilliant scheme was to set up Kristen with Bobby to permanently wreck his new marriage. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. Bobby took one look at Kristen, basically said thanks but no thanks, and went back to working things out with Pam like a functional human being. Kristen packed her bags and left town, probably wondering why she'd wasted her time on Ewing family drama in the first place. But soap operas don't let good characters stay gone, especially when there are more affairs to be had. When Season 3 rolled around, Kristen was back, except now she was Mary Crosby, daughter of Bing Crosby, and she had completely different plans for her time in South Fork. This time around, Kristen wasn't interested in the nice brother. No, she went straight for the snake himself, JR. And Crosby brought something to the role that Camp's version never had. This perfect mix of sweet southern charm and barely concealed danger that made you believe she could smile while plotting your downfall. By Season 4, Crosby's Kristen had reached her breaking point with JR's manipulations and betrayals. When she finally pulled that trigger, it wasn't just about passion. It was about anger, feeling used, and being pushed too far by a man who treated everyone like chess pieces. That cliffhanger pulled in 83 million viewers, more people than voted in presidential elections, all desperate to know who'd finally taken down Dallas's favorite villain. It's one of those rare recasts that didn't just work, it completely transformed a forgettable side character into a cultural phenomenon. Camp's Kristen was a plot device. Crosby's Kristen was a legend. And in true soap opera fashion, Kristen's story eventually ended exactly where you'd expect, face down in the South Fork pool, because apparently in Texas, even the swimming pools are dramatic. But by then, she'd already secured her place in TV history as the woman who gave America its biggest cliffhanger and proved that sometimes the second time really is the charm. And there you have it. 10 more times TV thought it could pull a fast one on us with a brand new face. Some swaps became legendary, others, well, they're buried right next to the new Coke recipe. Which one do you remember best, and which ones did we miss? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss our next trip down the memory lane of retro TV. And until next time, just remember, this is Remember When.